Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
As the death toll continues to rise in Sri Lanka, officials fear more attackers could still be at large. I'm Tom Hansen, and I'll tell you how the U.S. is getting involved.
Two associations protecting firefighters and police have written a letter to the county administrator for no confidence in the Gallatin County 911. I'm Cody Boyer with more details.
Everybody knows police and first responders have a difficult job, but I'll tell you about the challenges dispatchers face on a daily basis.
Good morning to you. Welcome to your Wednesday. It is 6:29. I'm Missy O'Malley with Chet Lehman, and we start off with a tough story here. The death toll in Sri Lanka is now at 359 people from Easter Sunday's bombings.
Yeah, officials say 60 people have been arrested, and they're still looking for more suspects. CBS's Tom Hansen has the latest this morning from New York.
As the burials continue for the hundreds killed in the Easter Sunday bombings in Sri Lanka, security forces remain on high alert outside of St. Anthony's Church, where black and white ribbons hang to mourn those who died.
The safe houses are being looked at.
The country's prime minister says several suspects with explosives are still at large.
So far, we've been successful in apprehending many of them.
ISIS released this video claiming these are the 7 suicide bombers responsible for attacking several churches and hotels. Officials were apparently warned of an attack but did nothing. Sri Lanka's president promised a complete restructuring of security forces. This security camera video shows a suspected suicide bomber as he approached St. Sebastian Church in Negombo. He enters by a side door and moments later detonates his bomb. Of the more than 350 killed on Sunday, at least 45 were children.
We want the world to know what was lost.
Alexander Arrow's 11-year-old son, Kieran Shafritz DeZoiza, was having breakfast with his mother at the Cinnamon Hotel when a bomb went off. Shrapnel pierced his heart and killed him.
Kieran was the star of every class he was ever in. He was the most loving and determined and articulate and insightful kid.
Kieran was one of 4 Americans killed. Tom Hansen, CBS News.
Now, Sri Lanka says the attacks were in retaliation for the New Zealand mosque shootings last month, though they didn't provide any evidence, and New Zealand's prime minister says she has no intelligence linking the two. This morning, the U.S. Embassy announced FBI agents arrived in Sri Lanka to help with that investigation.
Just a devastating story.
Unbelievable. 359 confirmed fatalities, 60 people in custody, and more information to follow.
Wow, just devastating.
Yeah.
Matt joins us now. As Chet mentioned a moment ago, pretty pleasant start to the day.
Oh, it's fantastic. If you step outside, the birds are chirping, temperatures are warm.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. Temperatures this morning into the 40s. Did I mention it's Monday again?
Friday, Monday part 3.
A couple of showers out there for the early part of the day. I think the afternoon should begin to clear. It will be breezy later today with winds gusting between 20 and 30 miles an hour. We'll see if I can do weather coming up here in just a few minutes.
We'll see.
Apparently, Matt now is the early bird because he got the worm. That's how that worked.
Let's talk about some news. Here it is now 6:32 in Bozeman. 2 unions made up of firefighters and police officers say they are concerned with how the Gallatin County 911 Dispatch Center is being run.
The Bozeman Police Protective Association, the Bozeman Firefighters Local 613, sent a letter to Gallatin County Administrator saying there are issues going on, some going back for years. Now, MTN's Cody Boyer explains what this means and how the county is responding.
When you lose communications, that opens up mistakes that could potentially be made and result in injuries or deaths.
In the service of saving and protecting lives, time and managing that time is key. Bozeman Police Protection Agency President Anthony Hutchings says that's how the union's conversation began.
What we're looking for is the hard evidence of why are we choosing this route we've been taking when it's not working.
Anthony says the Police Protective Associations and the Firefighters Local 613's letter states and notes several key factors, including understaffing issues with 911 and outdated communication. He does say that this is not a new issue.
The issues that we were experiencing with just inside Bozeman with law enforcement was our radios just weren't getting out, and it was a safety risk.
The letter also states that out of 611 sirens this year, only 129 of those calls met the operation procedure goal of 60 seconds in response time. In part of a statement, County Administrator Jim Dorr said, quote, "A complaint from a labor union is an issue between that group and its employer, and we are not going to get in the middle of that," end quote. Sheriff Brian Gutkin says while the union's concerns are heard, dispatches have been working hard.
The county's in a unique position where we have to worry and work with everyone in the county. That's 22 emergency responding agencies. We can't just be focused on one or two agencies. We have to be focused on everyone.
He adds, while a former Sheriff's Department employee serves as the interim director, the center fully cooperates with all agencies.
He is not in there permanently. I've made that crystal clear since day one. But for him to inherit and step up and take on that challenge, I could not give them enough credit.
While the unions wait for a response, Hutchings says first responders will not falter in doing what they do best.
There won't be any loss of services from us. We're going to keep doing what we do and provide them the best police and fire services that we can for this community.
In Bozeman, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
Now, Cody tells us the unions gave the county a deadline of this Friday, April 26th, to respond.
And being a 911 dispatcher is a stressful job that comes with a lot of responsibility.
MTN's John Amy introduces us to a Butte dispatcher who has been at the job for nearly 40 years.
911 Butte, what is your emergency?
Dispatchers are usually the first person to respond in a crisis.
It takes a special person to work in a dispatch center. It's not your run-of-the-mill job. It's a really high-stress environment. There's not a lot of recognition.
Butte dispatcher Barb Gray has been able to thrive in this environment for 40 years.
I like helping people. It's never the same job each day.
Dispatchers in Butte average about 150 calls a day, ranging from a loose dog to a life or death situation.
I wish it could always be a happy outcome on all my calls, but that's not necessarily true. Some of the calls that you get emotionally drained on, you know. You keep it together until the call is over, and then you just kind of either sit back and deflate.
Dispatchers are now trained in crisis intervention because they're often the first people to be in contact with somebody going through a stressful situation, and that helps law enforcement.
If you look at it, they really start the play, and so if they can get things calmed down on the front end of the call, it's a huge benefit to everybody who responds.
A dispatcher's ability to multitask is even more important today because everybody carries a cell phone with them, and that means one incident can produce multiple calls at one time.
A lot of times you get 25 or 30 calls on one single incident. All those calls have to be answered because we never know if they're coming in on the same accident that the other calls are, or it could be some other accident or an emergency in some other part of the county.
My thing that I do is I'll start humming a song or, you know, Christmas song or something like that, just to calm me down, answer the phone, go on the next call, and just, you know, it's a way of relieving some of the tension for me.
Remaining calm during a crisis. In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
John tells us Butte has 12 dispatchers. The team handles about 33,000 calls each year.
Wow. And a 78-year-old man from Arizona is dead after crashing his car on Monday night on I-15 near Butte. The Montana Highway Patrol says the man was driving northbound around 8 p.m. when he lost control of the vehicle. He overturned and landed in the median. The driver was taken to St. James Healthcare in Butte, where he died from his injuries. Alcohol or drugs were not suspected in that crash.
Well, people voiced strong opinions about Butte Superfund cleanup at a public hearing last evening.
MTN's John Amy was there to hear what people think about the final plan to clean up the mine waste in the mining city.
Dozens of people gathered at the Montana Tech Library Auditorium Tuesday evening for an informational hearing and to provide public comment on the final plan to clean up mine waste on the Butte Hill. Officials from the Environmental Protection Agency outlined some changes made in the Superfund consent decree that was reached between the Atlantic Richfield Company, Butte and the state, and other agencies. Some in the public are not happy that the plan does not fully restore the portion of Silverbow Creek that runs through the center of town.
I believe that this is a terrible decision. We need to make sure that we have a creek flowing through this community. That's what the people in this community have asked for. That's what the people in this community want. That's what the people in this community deserve.
While others applaud some of the progress made in the cleanup plan, they still voiced concerns over how effective the restoration will be.
What we're saying is Butte's water quality is not going to be significantly good enough to meet the standards that are set in Montana. So that's a very key thing that this community needs to be well aware of before we say, hey, it's acceptable.
The EPA will review these public comments and hold one more public hearing next month before the consent decree is finalized before the end of the year.
We deserve better. We deserve the best cleanup possible and not the cheapest.
In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
Now, the next meeting will be May 23rd at the Montana Tech Auditorium at 6 in the evening. All are welcome to come and voice their opinions.
Absolutely true.
We do have to take a